Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell went searching through the Salt Lake Tribune and didn't find that the reporter in charge of courts had published anything regarding my case that I gave a tip to her with. Not to be surprised. It was just yesterday, so she's got to do her research if she's a good journalist. But then there's a question of whether her boss will allow her to publish it if she decides to pursue an investigation of it. So, but again, like I told you guys, it's up to you guys now. The public needs to get spread out to all the world on your social media sites, to your friends. Find friends that have lots of people that come to their site. It's me, Jesse. You've got thousands that come to you. And John DeLynn. But critics of the church tend to keep themselves isolated from others. They tend to be the sole authority on LDS criticism. And that's kind of disturbing because what LDS critics are doing exactly what Mormons do. It's not good news. But in case you don't know what I'm talking about, yesterday I submitted a motion for recusal of Judge First and Judge Waddups in my lawsuit, which is game, set, and match. I won. Because all I needed to show was that the church is guilty of running a criminal organization. The criminal organization has associates in society, in the neighborhoods where they run their operation, collecting protection money, tithing, where the cops are paid off, paid off, or forced to give loyalty, or extortion threats are made. Judges also are compromised, and that's the case here, is that I submitted their recusal motion because they are compromised by the church, and thus proves that I was correct, that the church is a criminal organization, as I also presented the actual documented evidence that I presented to Judge First on the November 1st, showing that the church was paying off associates in the 2008 case. So again, I proved it with the motion. I don't need a judge to come down with a verdict because the judges are compromised. I won. Case closed. However, we still got to wait for the formalities. And like I said in the video that I did this morning, I expect the church to cover it up with the judges trying to figure out some way to dismiss my case in some other way. To cheat, in other words. So be expecting that next week, as the clerks are a part of this conspiracy, as they did not post the motion that I gave them yesterday. They're delaying. That's a naughty thing to do, because that also proves my case. So, but the Salt Lake Tribune did, however, show some interesting data, and it has to do with church membership. Salt Lake Tribune got a hold of the church's membership numbers for last year, and they're down for the first time in decades. Bad news, with the church claiming to be 16 million. Those of you who remember, The internet with social media came out in 2011. In November of 2012, reports were coming out that the church was experiencing a mass exodus. Mass. They were not 16 million back then. It was more like 12, 13, maybe 14 million. But they were reporting, because Marlon K. Jensen said that the active members were most likely around 5 million. And the church is going to continue to be in denial as they continue to present the actual baptism numbers. And so it doesn't factor in Mormons who have abandoned church attendance and church participation, but just haven't signed off to leave the church, haven't resigned. And so the church is still counting us, me included, as actual members, which is part of their insurance fraud that nobody's talking about. If you're familiar with white-collar insurance fraud, you puff up your numbers in order to get deals across the world. You know, you go in saying, hey, we want to build a temple here, and we've got 16 million membership. So we can bring in lots of revenue if you allow us to build a temple here. That's insurance fraud, financial fraud, because the actual numbers are far less. And the scandals that are going to emerge, as there's multiple lawsuits apparently, not just mine, but people who got conned by the church to make business deals are gonna be a little upset. And so that's why it's a crime to fraud other people by puffing up your numbers. The church is in denial because they claim, well, that these are actual baptisms. But now we're seeing the physical effects of not having as many active members in the church. Because what it does is, when Mormons such as I stop going to church, stop participating, we stop baptizing our 8-year-old children. We don't go on missions to participate in the pyramid scheme recruitment. And as a result, the church gets hollowed out, and it's not transparent on the public view. Not yet. But now it's happening, as 2018 will show those results. The church is not going to tell them, because they, if you remember, when Nelson took over, Oaks announced that they will no longer be announcing the statistics for the church. And so Mormons are going to be clueless, because they're not going to bother to look anymore. But there's a Wikipedia page where the church's stats are located, which was where I discovered that the church, after they announced the temple in Russia, I went to there and saw that the Russia membership was nowhere near large enough for a justification for a temple. And then the next year, where's Russia's membership stats? Gone. Wiped clean. And so, there's Russia caught on to the fraud scam that the church was pulling. But they still got conned into giving the church $32 billion through all those LLC companies. And Putin's going to want some payback for the money he has invested in the church. But the membership numbers will come out on Wikipedia a week after, maybe a week to a month after. Depends on the schedule of the person putting it on. So yeah, it's collapsing, guys. The inward hollowing out of those of us who are no longer participating in the church is now starting to physically manifest itself as the actual membership numbers decrease. And so, yeah, I'll throw in the clip that shows you the Salt Lake Tribune article, and I'll have to edit it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it all in. But yeah, church is collapsing, and once you guys spread the word that I have defeated the church, because it's the same process. I won. The church is exposed. They're caught. Now it's just a matter of making it public. Once it goes public, then the church is doomed, because the judges can't come up with a way to hide the fact that I won, dismissing my case. They'll be forced to have to allow the case to proceed, and the church will be toast, because I specifically designed the case to prevent the church from all of their claims of being a religious organization and being allowed by the First Amendment to commit crime. I took care of all that in my lawsuit. So, Elder Pullman, if you're wondering how. If you don't know Elder Pullman's talk in conference in 1984, that's why. The church even pulled his talk from the conferences on their website. If you've not been paying attention to my other videos, I'm helping a neighbor who's still a faithful, active Mormon, who has a disability that it's easier for me to put the conference talks into a digital format for him. So I've been going through all the conference talks and knew about Pullman's talk, and when it came time to that conference, gone. They pulled it now. Once a controversy, they purposely changed the talk, which the Salt Lake Tribune caught on to and exposed, and thus went viral. But there wasn't internet back then, and so people had to make it go viral after the internet and social media came along. You can find his conference talks, both of them. There's some guys who have done some good work on combining the two together so that you can see the changes that he made, and was forced to make. So, yeah. If you do a search, Elder Pullman, 1984, LDS, something like that, you'll see it, and you'll see the split screen videos that are available. But yeah, I purposely put that in there as an example of how the church is purposely frauding everyone by trying to claim that their corporation is immune from prosecution under the protection of the First Amendment because of that type of talk as evidence. So, alright. Fun times. Historic times. The church is collapsing right before our eyes. It's a slow motion building collapse, because the church is the building, and it's been hollowed out with the Exodus that has left the church, because my statistics were 3 million active members. And so that was 5 years after Jensen had given his thoughts on the matter. But then apparently more has occurred since I last reported on it. So we could be down to 2.5 million, maybe. So, and most of that would be here in Utah, because the Mormon the Mormon leaks, they did a thing where they exposed somebody had submitted the sacrament meeting attendance of Central America. Gone. They don't attend church. So when Nelson did his little tour this past year, that was why. It's because membership is not going to church. And so they needed the boost from the president himself to get them active again. Oh, God is great. No, it's all a con job to generate money again. But yeah, South America was great for that. They deceived the South Americans, saying the Book of Mormon is the history of their people, their ancestors, and that they were God's true church. And of course they saw the church as rich American religion. Oh great, I'm going to join, and the church is going to help me get out of poverty here in my country. And they join the church, and then the church says, no, we're not going to get you out of poverty. You got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Yeah, the people don't want to attend a church like that. So they all left. And so all those missionaries that were baptizing by the thousands didn't do very good on retention, did ya?